everybody? Welcome to the show. My name is T, and we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for a brand new review. Remember, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to either have some movie news, I'll have an interview, or I'll have a good opinion piece for you on something in the world of horror. But throughout the week, I am putting out multiple reviews of movies, TV shows, games, books, whatever. So if you want to stay on top of everything that I'm dropping for my channel, you got to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T-Scary-Movie. If you go to my link tree, that's going to give you access to my YouTube page. You can catch the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platform, so you can find the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for my horror gaming, which I'm going to get started up with the thing here in just a week or so, and to my Fangoria shop page, where you can enjoy my 20% off discount anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. So take advantage of that, y'all. Hit that subscribe button, especially if you're watching on YouTube, as the more subscribers I get, the more content I can put out for you. So hit that subscribe button for me, folks. So what are we talking about here tonight? Well, we're going to keep the new stuff rolling in, and I got a chance to check out a pretty disturbing film on Shudder recently called The Devil's Bath. And despite what you might think the film could be about, looking at nothing else but the poster, I'm here to break down all the important details for you here. So let's jump right on into it and talk The Devil's Bath. If you haven't seen the trailer for this one before, this tells the story of a young woman named Agnes who finds herself adrift trying to find a place in her husband's world. Back in the 17th century, women weren't given much to do outside of childbearing and caring for their home. But when Agnes doesn't even have that, she begins to find herself going crazy and will search for any way to find some kind of peace in her world. Now, with The Devil's Bath, I'm going to absolutely admit that I walked into it blind. I know that I had seen it on social media, that a few people had been watching it once it hit the release. And I know this had been doing really good at the festivals earlier this year as well, too. Like, it won a bunch of awards. But I hadn't heard about it until maybe about 2 weeks or so ago. And going off nothing else except for the poster and then maybe the name, The Devil's Bath, I was assuming that this was very much going to be a witch's story, honestly, that this was going to be a pretty dark film about witches. And surprisingly enough, that's not what it's about at all. Like, in the background of it all, for sure, I think that it'd be hard for any of us to watch this film and not think that there might be like a smidgen of like witchcraft hanging over it, for sure. But that's not really the point of the story. It's not like Agnes herself is a witch or she's surrounded by a coven of witches or anything like that. And again, I just point that out because I think that's fascinating. If you look at that poster and again the name of the film itself, you might walk down that pathway for thinking what this is about. But in truth, like I said in the description here, what we're seeing is the supposed like everyday life of women who lived back in the 17th century and how mundane their lives were, that they weren't given anything at all. And we live in, a somewhat great world today now, to where obviously it's not like it was back then, and women can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want, regardless of what the Supreme Court tries to say. But back then, there weren't really any rights. There weren't privileges. Like, you were there to work and to run your home. And so Agnes is ecstatic to get married. She's ecstatic to start living this kind of life. But she quickly finds out that her husband, Wolf, doesn't seem to be that interested in her. And when your husband here in this day and age, back in the 17th century, isn't showing any kind of interest in you, and there's just kind of disdain. And not only that, but Wolf's mother eventually starts to show up every single day at their home. So you got a mama's boy who can't detach either. There isn't really a place for Agnes to operate in her everyday life. And so she finds herself not fitting in with her family, with her peers, and instead ends up kind of finding more in common with those who are looked down upon or cast out in the village that she lives in. And it's a scary thought, honestly, because you get to see the isolation that Agnes is going through. And, you know, she goes back to her family, to her mother and her brother, begging to just rejoin them, because clearly this life that she's in is horrific, honestly. There is nothing. There's not love. There's not joy. There's nothing for her. There's no prospects for anything at all. And she had this different idea of what life was clearly going to be like. And that leads to a real life phenomenon that existed back then, to where women would commit crimes as a way of, like, it sounds callous to say as a way of entertainment, because that's not what it was. But what was maybe partially mental illness back then, and then honestly the other part just being that you've been driven insane by the life around you at this point. Women would commit these heinous crimes and then go and confess them, because they knew they would be executed, but they'd be absolved of their sins before then. So it's kind of like they get a chance to escape life and go on to, you know, heaven for what they believe. And even though they did this heinous thing, they're still covered in the eyes of God at that point. And so the first 5 minutes of this movie are going to be fucking shocking. Let me say that to you right now. I wasn't expecting that in the first 5 minutes at all, but I guess that's to desensitize you a bit to Agnes's world, because if you see one of the worst things humanly possible at the beginning of this film, how much worse could the rest of the movie be? But it's hard not to feel Agnes's despair and her pain, and just like every soul and emotion that goes through her as more time passes and passes and passes, and her life just doesn't get any better at all. Like, it almost would have been easier, honestly, if this turned out to be a movie about witches or about you know, some kind of pact with the devil, because at least in that case, Agnes's like pain that she's feeling could be very much focused into somebody who's responsible for pouring all this pain onto her. But that's just not the way it is, unfortunately. That's just not the way things are set up. And the real terror of this film is everyday life. And I think that's fairly relatable. That's very fairly relatable, even in this day and age, to see that. I don't want to drop too much in the way of spoilers, honestly, because unfortunately, to explain it more, I have to explain more of Agnes's actions throughout the film, and that's going to take away from the impact that this could have on all of you. What I will say, though, is that it will leave a lasting impression. It's very disturbing, and getting another look at the way medicine really worked back then, and that folks just threw everything against the wall and hoped that it had positive effects. Like, well, let's take this clump of grass and rub it on your feet because that's a way to get rid of the flu. Like, that was medicine back then, and it was dangerous, it was painful, and as we can kind of see here in The Devil's Bath as well, in some ways it's also torture. So it's just insane to think that back then you could be living a life like this, and the only solace, the only thing that people would offer you for that is more pain. These are very religious communities that you live in, and so your options aren't too great for the life that you can lead. You need to go and check this one out for yourself, folks. This one definitely shook me a bit, honestly. Movies like this are incredible, and it reminded me very much of, and I hate to bring it back because, again, it's not a story about witches or witchcraft or anything like that, but it felt very much like a companion piece to You Won't Be Alone. I had reviewed that one a couple years ago, actually, about, you know, the witch that takes this woman's daughter, and then the daughter kind of progresses through life, learning about love and learning about men and learning about hate and the way the way the world works. And it seems like very similar in tone to that one. I loved You Won't Be Alone. I thought that was a fantastic film. And this feels like one that goes right in the same kind of realm with that. So check it out. It's available on Shudder for all y'all to see right now. Want to hear back from you, what you thought about it. So you can let me know that in the comment section. And before I forget, folks, again, every video I put up here in the month of July, if you put a comment in the YouTube video, you have a chance to win yourself a Tall Man Funko Pop. So this one's going to be simple here this time around, y'all. Go and watch The Devil's Bath, and then let me know what you thought of it in the comment section. If you do that, get you an entry to try to win a Tall Man Funko Pop. So, that's it for us here tonight, y'all. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't go anywhere because I got so many fun reviews coming up for you this week, folks. We are looking at Puppet Master 2. We got Ghoulies coming up as well. I got a lot of fun stuff ahead for y'all. Summer ain't over yet, but that's it tonight. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.